Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I've been really looking forward to this event, and I'm so excited to get to know everyone a little bit more who's joining us. My name is Signe, and I work for Iron USA in New York, and we implement some of the NSLI programs, and including the one with students today, the academic year program in Taiwan. These students are currently studying Chinese in Taiwan and have prepared a presentation to share with you about their lives in Taiwan and about learning Chinese, and they're really excited. But before we get into their presentations, I'd like to give each classroom the opportunity to introduce yourself so we can get to know you a little bit more. So we'll begin. I'm so excited to be joined by classrooms in Wisconsin and Louisiana today. So we'll go ahead and begin with the Newman School in Louisiana. If you guys would like to introduce yourself.
All right. 你好，我的名字是吴书豪，我在 New Orleans, Louisiana。
大家好，我叫罗杰森，我是16岁，我在新奥尔良。
OK， so 下一个。
你好，我的名字是李宇轩。
我的名字是康正轩。
我的名字是汤志伟。
你好，我是 Communer。
你好，我的名字是汤丽达。
好了，我们好了。
好, okay, thank you everyone. It's great to meet you. Kawaki High School, the floor is now yours.
大家好，我叫罗瑞，我的名字我的英文
你好，我叫汤小禾，我的英文名字是 Emma。我们上POG 高中，我们今年上中文1和中文3。POG 在美国的中西部，而且 POG 在芝加哥的北面。我们的城市在威斯康星州的东南部，靠近密歇根湖。POG 的人口大约有14000人。我们学校的中文课有5个级别。
中文1现在在学习爱好，中文3现在在学习科学技术。POG 虽然不大，但是非常美丽。在我们学校的附近有一个湖，这个湖叫POG 湖。在夏天非常热的时候，我们会去POG 湖里游泳。但是在POG这个星期一要下雪了，所以我们不能游泳。我们很期待今天听你分享你们经历，谢谢。
Thank you. It's great to meet all of you. Thank you so much for introducing yourselves. So now I'm gonna pull up the PowerPoint presentation and we're gonna keep moving this right along, and I'll turn the floor over to the NSLI students to begin your presentation.
Am I first? Should I start?
Yes, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Thank you.
大家好，我叫李兰. My English name is Katie. I'm from Waukesha, Wisconsin, and I went to Kettle High School, if the Wisconsin people know where that is. Which I'm assuming you guys do, because I know where Pewaukee is. But so today I'm going to be talking about daily life in Taiwan and a short introduction to what Nestle is. So Nestle stands for National Security Language Initiative for Youth, and it's a State Department funded scholarship program for high school students. And the goal of the program is to inspire lifelong learning in high school and gap year students. And so if you get accepted into the program, you'll get sent to one of many locations around the world to learn one of the languages that the government deems critical languages. And so you'll get sent on either a summer or year-long program, and you'll get to travel around the world and learn a new language. And the great thing about this program is there's no prior experience needed in the language. You just apply, and if you get in, everything's covered, and you get a year to totally dedicate to a new language. So the applications open in August, and they're due in October, and you get notified the following spring. Next slide. So leading into that, me and 8 other students are currently on a Nestle program in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. And the 8 of us are living all in Kaohsiung and attending a university called Wenzhou University. And one big interesting thing about Taiwan is in Taiwan, because they're not fully affiliated with mainland China, they still use traditional characters. So I think almost all of us were learning simplified characters in the US. And so when we came to Taiwan, we had to make a big switch over to traditional characters. But we've all pretty smoothly made that transition, and it wasn't as hard as I was, or for me at least, it wasn't as hard as I was originally thinking it would be. Next slide. So what I want to talk about is my daily life here in Taiwan, and it's pretty similar to my Tongxue here too. So as I said earlier, we all go to a university called Wenzhou University, which is a local university here that specializes in foreign languages. And so they have a large foreigner population learning Chinese too. And then as part of the Nestle program, we live with host families. So we commute to and from school every day, which is for most of us only about like a 10 to 15 minute bus ride, or some of us walk too. So it's really not a big deal. And then another part of the program is every month we go on cultural trips for either a day or 2 days to explore somewhere in Taiwan. So we get to see pretty much the whole island by the end of our time here. And that being said, the island isn't a very large island. It's about half the size of Wisconsin. But in this small island, there is such an abundance of natural beauty. Like there's mountains and oceans and really big cities, and you just have it all packed into this really small island, and it's beautiful. So back to my regular schedule. So on an average day, I wake up at about 7:45 and eat breakfast with my host mom. And then at 8:30, I take a public bus to Wenzhou. And then from 9 o'clock until 12 o'clock, we all have Chinese learning classes with other foreigners. And then after that, we have an hour for lunch. And we usually go around Wenzhou. There's a lot of little food places that we usually eat at. And then after that, from 1 to 3 or 3 to 5, depending on the day, we have another Wenzhou class that's in the actual college with the Taiwanese students. And then sometimes we have tutoring too, which is nice. And then usually after that afternoon class, I head out into the city with friends or do something else and explore the city because I have to take advantage of the time like while I'm here. And so I usually go out and explore, see something new in the city, and then in the evening come home, eat dinner around 7 to 8 with my host family, and then get some homework done, and then go to sleep. And that's my average day. Oh, next slide. The last thing I want to talk about was just living abroad and saying that no matter where you go in the world, it's going to be very, very different from what you're used to in America. And not only are you going to be learning a new language, but you're also going to be learning a totally new culture. And just studying abroad is all about embracing that. And even though it's going to be hard to adjust to at first, and there's going to be a lot of language barriers, you're going to embarrass yourself a lot. But in the end, it's going to be so rewarding, and you're going to make a lot of lifelong friends. And you're going to get a lot of new cultural understanding. And yeah, studying abroad is just a really great experience. Thank you. Oh, so next up is Alicia, one of my other Tongxue on the trip.
Hi everyone, 大家好。我的名字是王欣翰，英文名字是 Alicia Chen. I'm from a suburb of Detroit, Michigan, and this is my 5th year studying management. I'm also Huayi, or Chinese American, which means that my parents immigrated from Daolu or China. Today I'll be talking about the host family experience. Can you go to the next slide? Thanks. So I'm an NSLI-Y summer alumna, so I've lived with 2 host families. The picture on the left is of me with my entire Taiwanese host family. And the one on the right is me with my Zhuhai mom, sister, and my classmate's host mom, Adam. Oh, sorry, my classmate Adam's host mom. Next slide. So living with a host family is really an incredible opportunity for many reasons. The most obvious one is that you get the full language and cultural immersion experience. Because you're living with native speakers, you'll be speaking the language a ton. It's pretty exhausting at first because you need to get used to, talking in a totally new language at all times. But eventually it gets a lot easier, and you'll notice that you're learning significantly faster than the average student. At the CLC where we take classes, one of my teachers actually told me way back at the beginning that us NSLI students would be improving a lot faster than our classmates who live in dorms in their own apartments, especially when it comes to speaking and listening. And as time has gone on, that's become pretty apparent. Living with a host family is also really great because any and all grammar, vocab, traditions, culture questions, anything you've got, you have people to ask, and they'll be really patient with you and make sure that they answer it to the best of their abilities. Next slide. Food. Food is really important anywhere you go. And when you're on cultural exchange, it's really great to have, people to help you figure out what kind of foods you like and to tell you, where the best restaurants are. And it's always awesome to come home to a home cooked meal. And Taiwanese food is really amazing. So that's definitely been a perk. Next slide. When you live with a host family, chances are they'll take you to a lot of really cool new places. Taiwan, as Katie said, is this really incredible island that a lot of people don't really consider when they think about, cultural exchange or even just travel. So your host family will take you out and about and show you all of the best spots. Families who are interested in hosting really want to share their culture. And so they'll be really, welcoming of taking you around. And I really like hiking. So my host family has been really great to me, and they've taken me to a lot of really amazing hiking spots. Next slide, please. And the best part, as cliche as it sounds, is you'll have a new family. My host family has been nothing but amazing to me, and I'm really lucky to have them support me. Yeah, living with a host family to me is definitely the best part of being on exchange because they're really my second family. And it's really great to be a part of their family. And now Kate will be sharing about her language learning journey.
大家好，我叫林野莹. Hi guys, I'm Kate. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin, and today I'm going to be talking about my whole Chinese language learning process. Next slide. 好，习惯成自然. So this is basically saying that your habits become like your nature. And so when you guys are all, I've heard that you guys are all more like a beginner stage in Chinese. And so at that point, I think that's like a really good time to be making like good habits in learning Chinese that will stick with you and help make the rest of your Chinese language learning process smoother and faster. I think you guys are really lucky to be in like a classroom and have Chinese teachers. Chinese teachers are a really amazing resource. They know a lot of Chinese. And so they can definitely help you answer questions or if you have any concerns like that. I think one of the main things to remember is that they're a really good resource for you, but you also have to take your own responsibility for language learning. So active learning is key. Asking questions, asking for better pronunciation, better phrasing, just like always looking for ways to continue to improve. I think routine and repetition is also really important. You're learning a language, there's a lot of new characters, there's a lot of new grammars, or there's a lot of new vocabularies, and all those things, if you only hear it once, it can be hard to remember, much less use. So definitely a lot of routine and repetition. Next slide. Okay, one thing I really want to focus on is 听力 and 发音, pronunciation and listening, because I feel like a lot of times when you're learning a language, people kind of think of those things as something that's like passively done, but truthfully, listening and pronunciation require a lot of work. And in Chinese, which is a tonal language, as you guys probably know, like pronunciation is really, really important to have to be able to properly communicate. And so, you know, being at beginner stage is, I think, is a really good time to be making, to be like setting up good habits and good pronunciation, because once you have that, that'll stick with you for the rest of your Chinese learning career. Next slide. Okay, and then just a couple things that I've learned and I try to remember as I learn Chinese. The first is travel light and travel correctly. As well as trusting yourself, because there's a lot that you can do with the things that you already know. Even if the grammar that you use is simple, or you feel like the vocabulary you use is like smaller, there's still a lot that you can express. And I think one thing to remember is like to keep challenging yourself. Even if you learn a specific grammar point, and you only learn it in one context, try to use it in a different context to express a different idea or to talk about different things. You'll find that you actually know how to say a lot. And then another thing that I thought was really helpful is your level +1. It's the idea that if you want to improve, you have to be learning at levels that are a bit more challenging for you. So when I first came to Taiwan, I felt I could only write about like a 300 character composition, but then the second month I had an assignment and I was supposed to write a 4,000 character essay. Never thought I would do that. I never really wanted to do that, but all of a sudden I had to, and it was really hard, but I worked really hard on it, and eventually I ended up with a 94% in a class for native Chinese speakers. So challenge yourself and you'll have success. And then a couple other things. Sentence mining is a really helpful tool for me, and it's learning vocabulary and grammar in context. So when you learn a new word, try looking it up and finding like example sentences. That'll help you learn to memorize words faster and will help you know how to use them better. 3-time rule is just, if you learn a word and use it 3 times, then you're going to remember it. And lastly, setting goals and check in with yourself frequently, I think is really important. And remembering why you're learning a language, and then seeing how you're doing to make sure that you're still improving. Next slide. And then lastly, everyone is really different in how they learn languages, but this is just like a list of different methods that I've used over time. I sent your teachers a copy that has like a list of all these things, as well as resources that I've used. But yeah, I hope you guys all find something that's a little bit helpful to you. Thank you. 谢谢大家. Next person is Tyler.
嘿，大家好，我叫王泰勒，我是从美国的匹兹堡来的。So my name's Tyler. I'm from Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. You guys probably heard of it, may not know where it is, but that's all good. So on this side, you can just see me and some Taiwan, the Taiwanese flag right there, and some steak because I love me some meat. So next slide. 所以我的一个重点就是为何学习语言。So my first main point is just why do we study language? And as language learners yourselves, I'm sure you've probably thought about it. Learning something like Chinese especially. And so I think that the most important point when learning language is what I've written here, which is just 沟通 or communication. And there might be a lot of reasons why you want to learn Chinese. Like maybe you want to go into business, maybe you want to make new friends, go to different places, see the world, and experience new cultures. But in order to do all of those things, you first have to get this main point of communication. And so 沟通 is really a very important thing when learning language. And that's really what's going to influence my next few slides. So you can go to the next slide, please. I think that native speakers are super important when learning language. Just interaction with native people who know this language, because they know this language better than you. You want to learn this language. And so these are the people who are going to help you be able to do that. And so that's what I want to do my presentation on today. On the left, you see a friend from college that we go to here. In the middle, you see my host brother, my Didi, and my host grandmother, or as we call them in Taiwan, my ama. And then on the right, you just see this little guy. I think he was like 4 or 5 years old, but you know what? His Chinese was way better than mine at this time. And so I learned a lot from this guy. And my point is you can learn from everyone and anyone around you, especially when you seek out these native speakers and you seek out these interactions. And so that's really important to like look for these interactions and try and learn from these people. And not only do you learn from these people, learn linguistically, culturally, but also you have friends. Like you make these friends, you make these connections in other places, in other countries, and with other people that you wouldn't have been able to make before. And so this really is super important. And so next slide, please. Really one of the most important things that I think that you can learn is just 自然的讲话, or speaking naturally. Because as you see here, native speakers have good accents. You probably want to improve your accent. And the best way to do that is, well, native speakers have something you want to do that. And so by combining these, by interacting with these native speakers, your accent improves simply through the interaction. And this is really important and this is really key. And this is one of the coolest things. It's just, you don't necessarily have to be studying all the time. You just have to be interacting with these people. You just have to be having fun. So in this is one of my best friends in Taiwan. 2 pictures of him, one that he hates from high school on the left. Don't tell him that I used this picture because he'll be mad. And then one on the right we went to this Mexican place called Don Burrito in Kaohsiung. It's a great Mexican place. Best Mexican place in Kaohsiung. Closed down, now it's 意大利面. So you know what, no more Mexican for us. But actually, we ate there. They opened a little stand outside with tacos. We ate there tonight. They had good tacos. Anyway, it's too bad that they opened Italian noodles. Anyway, this is him. This is my friend. My Chinese accent is basically this guy's Chinese accent. It's this guy's Chinese accent, except with my voice. So, 感谢我的好好的朋友教我这么好的中文. So yeah. So that's basically that side. And that's really a key point of speaking with native speakers is like best way to improve your accent, best way to improve your language, best way to improve your grammar, usage, all of that. Because you get to know what those people would use in those situations. And that's really, really important. And that improves your communication more than anything, I think. Anything else, I think, really would. And so next slide is just there are pictures of food. I promise the topic is culture. Trust me on that one. Food is culture. I love food. This is all Taiwanese food. It was delicious. And all of this food, I basically got to with, communication with native speakers. So you see like the sushi was from a Japanese dinner I went to with my host family. This meat that we see here is actually with my friend on the last slide. I went and ate some 日式的烧肉, which is basically like grilled meat. And then I got this 珍珠奶茶, which is something Taiwan is famous for. I have a full coconut, which I had this really long conversation with this this shop owner, and we went on this whole journey with my friends, and I learned a lot of Chinese and a lot of things about coconuts. And what I've written here in Chinese is basically that people really love communicating with you and sharing their culture with you, and that's really important. And so next slide. And so really quickly, like some strategies, just, the best way is to come to Asia and make friends, but not everyone can do that because 这个真的很困难. So basically take advantage of your community, take advantage of the people around you. You guys have Chinese, like your Chinese teachers are a super good experience or are a super good resource. Make friends with them, talk to them, and take every opportunity that you can. And lastly, I think we have some apps in our resources we're going to send you, and that's going to help you a lot. Like there are some ways where you can communicate with these people even if you can't go to Asia. So if you look in the chat, Hello Talk, that's one of the really good apps. There's some other things that we're going to give you later. And so I guess just last slide to wrap it up real quick. It's just 再见, or as the Taiwanese would say, bye bye. So these are, and then here I just have some cool things like Taipei Lingyi, which is, one of the cool things that Taiwan has. It was the tallest building in the world for a while. And then the sunset right off Kaohsiung Harbor. My point is really just, if you want to be able to communicate in a language, meet the people who speak that language, make connections with them, and learn everything you can from those people, as well as making new friends and making new connections all over the world, learning culture, learning all that. That's really important, and that's all I want to say to you guys. So, 再见，希望你们的中文好好的进步。Okay, and next, I believe we have our last presenter named Greta.
Hi everybody, 大家好，我的名字是罗嘉瑞，我从美国芝加哥来的。Hi guys, my name is Greta Rauch. I'm from Downers Grove, which is a western suburb of Chicago. Next slide, please. So the three most important things about me. 我非常喜欢机器人，我是天主教徒，而且我很喜欢学习。So the three things that I think are most important about me are I absolutely love robotics. I'm Catholic, and I really enjoy learning. Next slide, please. 所以我今天要报告的题目就是自信心。Today, I want to talk to you guys about confidence because it's something that's really important to language learning and something I've learned a lot about while I've been in Taiwan. So I want to share with you my top 4 tips for improving confidence, specifically when you're speaking a foreign language. Next slide, please. 第一个就是了解文化。So the first one is understand the culture. The amazing thing about Taiwanese and Chinese culture is that the people are super welcoming. They really, really love to hear a 外国人, a foreigner, speak Chinese. I've had situations where all I've said is 你好, and immediately they respond with, oh my goodness, 你的中文超厉害. Your Chinese is so amazing. You're awesome. So for me, understanding that people are so laid back and easygoing really made me a lot more confident to speak the language because I knew that they were gonna not take it too hard when I made a mistake and were really excited to hear me speak their language and excited to help me learn. Next slide, please. 第二个就是错误 mistakes. When you're learning a foreign language, you're going to make mistakes. That's just part of the whole process. But making mistakes means you're pushing yourself. If you're not making mistakes, it means you're using Chinese that you're comfortable with. You're not incorporating new grammar. You're not incorporating new vocab. So mistakes mean that you're growing. And they also give you the chance to tell some really funny stories. So I want to tell you one of my personal favorite mistake stories. When I first started to take drama class at the university, the teacher asked me to introduce myself and my 2 American classmates in front of a classroom of about 40 Taiwanese college students. And I stood up in front of the classroom and I said, 大家好，这是我2个男朋友. Hi everybody, these are my 2 boyfriends. And it was super, super embarrassing, but I got through it. And this is a real success story for me because I ended up starring in the play that my class put on. And I'm not an actor, I'm an introvert. So for me, this was a huge success. So actually, I think we're gonna play a real quick clip of the play just to give you guys a feel for what it was like. Go ahead.
As I pull this video up, in case the connection is choppy, we'll share the link of the video in the chat box so you can watch it later after the presentation.
So it's basically a Taiwanese version of Cinderella.
病啊，也是可能还有点神经质。
所以你觉得我应该怎么办？
你好好考虑一下。
哦，好 ，OK。
桃子姑娘，嫁给我吧，我会给你很多食物。
哇，食物吗？
对，
很多食
很多
物吗？
食物，
全
因为
的吗？
每一天吃到饱。
好，我原谅。Yes。
于是有病的王子和贪吃的桃子姑娘就。
So that was something for me that I never would have had the confidence to do before coming to Taiwan. So I'm really glad I took advantage of that opportunity. So my third point is 参加活动, join groups. You have to find a way to separate yourself from your English-speaking friends because they're your safety blanket. And your English-speaking friends are great, but if you want to improve your Chinese, you got to put yourself in situations where you're the only speaker. Because for me personally, if I'm in situations where there's other English speaker or where there's other English speakers that also speak Chinese, I tend to rely on them to do the Chinese speaking for me. So for me, it's been really important to find ways to join activities by myself. And it also gives you a chance to learn really specialized vocab. So I'm going to give you an example of that on the next slide. So I'm really into robotics. I've been a part of FIRST Robotics for a long time. And FIRST is a 跨国的团体，然后他们推广机器人比赛。They're an international organization that runs robotics competitions. So I had a chance to volunteer at a robotics competition a few months ago. Next slide, please. And this was a 练习比赛, a practice competition. 然后我有机会当志工. I had a chance to be a volunteer there. And so I learned a whole bunch of vocab about robotics, about software, computers, the game the robots were playing, and this was vocab that never would have been taught in my classroom. So I actually was the MC at this competition, which again improved my confidence a ton because I was the only foreigner there. I was really pushed outside of my comfort zone, and I really came away from the event feeling like I had grown a lot and feeling a lot more confident in my Chinese level. Okay, awesome. Last slide, please. My last tip is 说. You gotta speak. If you don't speak Chinese, your confidence isn't gonna improve at all. And the more you speak, the more comfortable you become. When I first got here, I was a little bit unsure about speaking Chinese. Whenever I spoke it, I felt like I really needed to think about what I was trying to say. And, like I would go to bed and my head would hurt because I just spent the entire day, thinking so hard and making sure I was getting my point across. And now for me, it's just second nature to have conversations in Chinese. It's just a language that my life operates in this language now. So, and that only happened because I kept speaking the language. So that's what I have for you guys today. Good luck.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, NSLI students, for sharing and presenting. Thus completes the presentation part of this virtual event. So now we'd like to open it up to the Q&A section. I think how this will go is we'll switch off between the classrooms. I'll give each classroom about 5 minutes to ask the NSLI students any questions, and then we'll just switch off between the classrooms every 5 minutes or so until the students, until you have your next class. So we'll begin with the Newman School. If you have any questions you'd like to ask the NSLI students.
Yeah, the elevated advice on learning tones, because I noticed that's something that I've struggled with a lot in the past. So, like, does it kind of just come with speaking with native speakers a lot more easily, or is there something that you practice to kind of get that?
Okay, I think while we've been here, tones have been something that has really been focused on for our group because we all struggle with them and they are really, really hard. I think the most important thing about tones is remembering that learning them can't be passive, and it's not. You really have to actively work on improving them. And I think that comes from, like, when you're learning characters, know what the tone is that goes with them. That'll make learning full words or sentences easier. Listening to a lot of native resources, hearing how they use tones, you know, watching TV in Chinese, or listening to Chinese music, or listening to podcasts. Those are all really, really helpful for getting like tones ingrained in your head, and also just speaking more.
Yeah, to add on to that, tones were something, I studied Chinese for 4 years before I came here and never focused on tones. So when I got here, tones were a real priority for me. And the way I worked on it is actually, I did what my, just got tips from other people on the best way to improve. And what really has worked for me is recording myself. And then, so I'll write out all the tones for a paper, and then I'll record myself saying it, and then I'll go through and I'll circle what I said wrong. So just learning how to listen to your own mistakes and just constantly practicing. And for the first few weeks, I really didn't see any results. But now when I listen to myself when I listen to myself recorded speaking Chinese, I can hear that I've improved a lot. So it's something that it's difficult, but it's something that's really important, and it's something that happens with time.
Another thing I would bring up is just, like Kate just said, when you learn a character, you have to learn the tone, because I think something that, like, with the sort of Hanyu pinyin that we use, it sort of makes it look almost like the tone is like a separate thing from the word, like, especially when we write English, but it's really not. Like, the problem that I had, and still do have to some extent, is when I would learn something, I would learn how to pronounce it, and I would sort of remember the tone, but a lot of times I would learn it wrong. So, like, for instance, to say second, you say miao, but you'd say miao, but I learned it as fourth tone, so I learned miao, but that's not right. And so whenever I would speak to people, like, there were these small words where it was just not correct, because I would not remember that the tone is more integral with the word. If you say a sentence with the tones like completely non-existent or not right, there's a good chance that someone's not going to understand you, because they really are a part of the language. It's not like you tack tones on at the end and then you like it's not like tones are not an afterthought in Chinese. Tones are integral to the speak. Tones hold like meaning, and that's really important, I think. And that's the thing that, like, especially with like us coming from English, I don't think that we stress that a lot. Almost.
Next questions? What, Lacey and talk? No?
No questions.
No questions? That's it?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, well, we can maybe switch off question by question too. So Pewaukee High School, do you have a question you'd like to ask the students?
All right, who's gonna go first? All right, go.
What's your favorite Taiwanese food?
Hi, okay, this is something I think we can all answer really quickly. Mine would be manguo bing, nai lu. Oh, manguo bing, translation, mango ice. There's like, it's shaved ice with fruit on the top basically, and it's delicious. Nai lu is green tea with milk, so it's like bubble tea except green tea instead. Next. It's a hard question.
Okay, my favorite Taiwanese food, I don't actually know the Mandarin for it, but in Taiwanese it's called angakgae. It's a type of chicken, and it's really, really good. You dip it in like its own sauce, and it's delicious.
Well, this isn't a particular food per se, but Taiwan is known for their like drinks, especially bubble tea, but then they have all these drink shops everywhere around the whole city. And so I really like going to new drink shops and just trying new drinks. And a lot of them are like fruit based. We'll have like bits of fruit, like passion fruit inside. And so I really like those drinks. So I just like sampling all the new drinks in Taiwan. That's my favorite thing to eat or to drink.
So I love a lot of the food here, but probably my favorite is chong jua bing, which is I don't know what it translates to. It's basically like sort of like a burrito. It's like, man, I'm having trouble describing this. It's bread on the outside, and then on the inside it's egg and chicken, and I normally get it for lunch at least 2 times a week, and it's definitely turned into my staple food here. And I'm really happy that it's easy to make, so I can make it for myself when I get back to America.
So, like, I love Taiwanese food. So this is like a really hard question. Like, 我最喜欢哪一种的台湾菜 is like, that's the hardest question you could ask me. I love the 烧肉, which is technically Japanese food, but I love it. I love the 火锅, 特别喜欢吃麻辣锅，还有臭豆腐，那个臭豆腐非常好的吃，还有什么？ I don't know, like it's all so good. So, just it's such a hard question because I love all the food here. It's really good. I like, so Japanese meat, especially the steak, 和牛, which is like that fancy steak. It's really good. So like all that stuff, I love it all. Like it's delicious. If I had to pick one, the 生鱼片 is super fresh. So the seafood 海鲜 is like that. I think would be my favorite. I think I would go with the seafood with the like it's like sashimi. Oh, but that's such a hard question.
What would you say was the hardest thing for you when you were over there?
I'll answer real quick. So Katie can get a turn too. I'll go fast. The two hardest things for me have been, first one is homesickness. It takes some adjusting to. It's hard to be away that long from home, but NSLI supports us really well, and I've got my American friends, I've got my teachers, so they've really helped me learn how to adjust to living abroad. So it's a challenge I'm glad I've had. And then the second hardest thing for me has been, you're going to plateau in your language level at some point. And when you plateau, it can be frustrating because you feel like your language isn't going anywhere. So for me, it's been when I'm plateauing, keeping my motivation to keep studying Chinese and finding new strategies to make sure that I'm continually improving.
I think Greta covered that really well, so we can move on to the next question. Sorry.
Do you guys have hot pot in Taiwan?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Just one of my
It's
favorite
so
foods is hot pot. It's 火锅. So hot pot is delicious. It's amazing. They have so many types of hot pot, especially the 麻辣锅, which is like that sort of like Sichuan 的味道, is like, it's so good. And it's so cheap. We were looking, Alicia and I were looking, because we actually had 吃到饱 hot pot for lunch, 泰式的. And then Alicia and I were looking, we found one in New York, which is like, and they were like, they put on the screen, it was like all this meat and stuff, and they were only $40. And I was like, oh, that's so expensive. Come to Taiwan, the hot pot is cheap and delicious. 吃到饱 is like a buffet, so you can basically just keep ordering as much as you want. It was a 90分钟的 time limit, so it was like a 90-minute time limit, and then you could just keep ordering and eating.
Yeah, just about any kind of food you could imagine, you can definitely find in Taiwan. Yeah, I love hot pot. What a staple.
Awesome. I think we'll switch back to the Newman School. If you guys have any questions you want to ask the NSLI students.
So I think we should say like say goodbye because we have we got kind of 9 o'clock. So
okay.
Yeah. So everybody want to come to the screen and say goodbye. Can we? Okay. Yeah, everybody want to show you guys' face? No.
It was very nice to meet you all.
Yeah, it's nice meeting you all.
很高兴认识你们。
再见。
拜拜。
Okay, well, we, Pewaukee High School, if you have any other questions, I think the NSLI students have a little bit more time, but if you have to go, we also understand.
What types of social media do you guys have in Taiwan?
Actually, none of the social media is blocked. So Instagram and Facebook are blocked on the mainland, but they're not in Taiwan. Most Taiwanese people will use Line, just Line, all caps. to communicate instead of like messenger or text.
You want to stay and listen?
You guys have cereal there? Like Captain Toast Crunch or something like that?
Yeah, we have cereal. I actually for the Mid-Autumn Moon Festival here, I made like Rice Krispie bars for my host family. So yeah, you can buy cereal here. We have Costco.
Captain Toast Crunch.
Like, where do you get the money to like buy foods and stuff like that?
Can you repeat that?
Where do you get the money to like buy your foods and stuff?
Oh, okay. We're actually given a stipend. The NSLI scholarship covers like all living costs. So we get a stipend for, you know, lunch and transportation.
What is the university like?
So the university is a foreign language university in southern Taiwan. It's a kind of small campus, which is actually pretty nice because it's really manageable. The university has, its history is super fascinating, but I don't have time to go into it. It has a high school division and a university division. So that's cool because you have a chance to meet high school students and college students. Most of the students there are majoring in a language of some sorts, and then a lot of them are also majoring in how to teach Chinese. So we have a really cool opportunity to study at the university with other foreigners, but also to meet the Taiwanese people that go there. And we also have a chance to join any and all clubs at the university. So for me personally, I've joined a service club there and made some really great friends through that. And also the university is a Catholic university. And because I'm a Catholic, I've joined in a lot of the activities there and gotten to know the group of nuns that lives on campus, which they were the ones who founded the school. So that's also been a really cool experience. So the university is awesome.
And I don't think you said the name. It's called 文藻外语大学, which is translates to just 文藻, which is I think the name of the Brenda knows this better than I do. And then it's 文藻Foreign Language University.
Yeah, and we also get to take 2 electives, which is really unique to us because we're at the university. So every semester we take 2 classes. Most of them are 2 hours long. One of mine is 3 hours long, with just normal university students. Oh, should we share our electives? I don't know if that would be interesting. Right now I'm in contemporary Mandarin movies, so Taiwanese films, Hong Kong films, and Chinese films, and intro to linguistics.
Okay, I'm currently taking volleyball, which is super fun because we just get to talk the whole time and play volleyball, and there's a lot of time to make friends. And then I'm also taking Chinese phonetics class where we talk about the rules of pinyin, which is really interesting because in Taiwan, instead of pinyin, they use a system called 注音符号. And so for a lot of Taiwanese people, they're learning pinyin for the first time as well.
This semester, I am taking picture books, so how to write a picture book. So I am challenged linguistically and artistically because I can't draw. And then my second elective course is global ethics. That's been fascinating it's the first time a lot of Taiwanese students have ever taken an ethics course. So that's been really fascinating to learn the perspective over here on worldwide ethical issues.
And then this semester, I'm taking 书法, which is calligraphy, Chinese calligraphy, and we're actually studying, I believe, 5 different scripts that have been used throughout Chinese history, all the way from multiple thousands of years ago to today, which is a super cool class. And then also 词汇学, which I can never remember the English for, unfortunately, but it's basically the study of specific words. 词汇 is like vocabulary, so it's basically the study of, it's a linguistic field studying vocabulary and usage. And so that's interesting. And then last semester I took 桌球, which is how they say 乒乓球 in Taiwan, because they have a different word for that. And then I also took a class in speech, like oral speaking, which was really interesting to see how that's taught here as well.
And right now I'm taking the linguistics class with Alicia, and then also I'm taking a history of Taiwan class.
What motivated you all to go through the program?
Okay. So the reason why I first learned about NSLI, I think 6 years ago, and so I'm a Chinese adoptee. I was born in China, and then I came to the U.S. when I was 1 year old. And like growing up, I learned Chinese, but I didn't really do it seriously until my sophomore year of high school. And I really, really I don't know, when I started learning Chinese, I really regretted that, because I always thought like if I had started earlier, you know, I'd be so much better, or, you know, there's so much more I could have done with it. And so initially, I think a lot of the reason why I wanted to do NSLI was because I wanted to kind of compensate for all the time that I didn't spend learning Chinese by doing a really intensive program like this. And so getting into NSLI, I first did the 6-week program over the summer 2 years ago, and I learned a lot, improved a ton. I was able to test with like 12 college credits worth of Chinese after doing that. And so coming from that experience, I was like, if I took 6 weeks and then I turned that into 10 months, my Chinese improvement will be like astronomical. And yeah, that's why I did NSLI. And I think, you know, sometimes like we make a lot of expectations and we always want to be improving more. I still wish my Chinese, I still have a long way to go. I still want to improve a ton, but being here has definitely helped springboard my progress more than in the US. So yeah, cool.
So I'm Huayu, which means that my parents, going right after Kate, which means my parents are immigrants from Dalu. So my reasoning is pretty similar to Kate's. When I was a kid, I didn't really want to speak Chinese. I didn't feel it was necessary as my parents spoke English and I was with other English speakers every single day. And then I had to take a language course for high school to meet requirements. And I started taking Chinese because I realized that it was pretty ridiculous that I couldn't really communicate with a large majority of my family. I said that really weird, family. And so I started taking it and I realized that I really enjoyed it and that I thought learning languages was really interesting. And then I also did the summer program and I realized that I could use language learning as a means to, you know, further communicate with the people who are close to me, but also as a way to meet new people and have new experiences. And I also want to be a lawyer. So a lot of times people will learn critical languages to help them further career goals. And I think that's true for almost all of us.
I can throw my reasons out there real quick. For me, my aunt moved to Beijing when I was in 3rd grade, and she was the first person in my family to ever study Chinese. So for me, that was kind of what got me thinking about it. And then when I was in 7th grade, a family from China immigrated to America, and the boy joined my class. And that was my first time meeting anybody from China. So that, you know, got me thinking more about it. And then I realized that my high school was going to have Chinese class. So I started taking Chinese. And then my teacher told me about the NSLI program. And I kind of felt like, you know what, I'll give it a chance. I'll see what it's like. And once I went on my summer program, that's when things really changed for me, because I had, you know, I built up a lot of relationships with people that spoke the language. The language became a lot more than something in a textbook. It was something I could use to meet people. And I really saw the importance and the value of learning the language. So after my summer program, I became a lot more serious about studying Chinese. Really became a long-term goal of mine to pursue the language. And so I applied for the year program and was lucky enough to be accepted and lucky enough to be here now. Oh, and I should also add, I want to be an engineer. Computer science is what I really love. And I think there's a stereotype that engineers don't study abroad, but I think it's super important for the field. So that's another motivation for me.
So what really motivated me to learn Chinese was when I was younger. I used to live in Shanghai. For about 2.5 years, I got the opportunity because my dad was assigned there for 2 years. And so I got exposed to Chinese at a younger age. And then when I moved back to Wisconsin, I didn't have as much of an opportunity to learn Chinese, but I kept getting tutored in Chinese. And so it's always like on the back burner of just a language that I want to learn more in the future. And then when my tutor told me about the NSLI program, because her son had gone on the NSLI program, I just thought that was like really cool program to go on. And then when I was looking into colleges, and thinking about the future, I just thought about taking a gap year and started looking into gap year programs. And the NSLI program is a great program for a gap year. And so that was my major motivation. And then I think almost all of us are planning to continue learning Chinese in college too.
All right, well, I guess I'm last. So why did Tyler learn Chinese? What a great question. You know what? So I think that if you look at my presentation, like what I talked about communication, I think that helps with, sort of global cooperation as well. In that if you can speak someone's language, I think that that's really like a nice way to bond with them. And I think it really helps build relationships. And if you look at the world, I think that Chinese is a super important language because there's 1.5 billion people that can speak this language. And so the 重要性 is like quite that. And so I think that's really like sort of what started motivating me. And then when I researched it more, I really decided I wanted to learn it. So I guess, when I first started to learn Chinese, I decided that I thought Chinese characters looked really cool. And I really wanted to be able to write something with cool characters. And so I started learning it. And the more I learned it, the more that I learned about China, the more I learned about the US, and the more I learned about the world. And I think that China, especially like with Jiarui, I'm also someone interested in like 科技 or technology. And I think that technology, like in order to keep going forward with technology, we need a lot of like cooperation and collaboration between, the whole world. And we can't just have the US working at tech alone. And I think that like what Greta said, like it's really important for engineers and for people who are trying to further technology to go abroad and study abroad, to meet other people and like sort of 了解 other cultures. And so like that's sort of right now my motivation. And so actually sort of also with a little bit of a Shanghai 关系 is just I'm actually thinking about, because I, unlike these four, didn't commit to college last year. So I'm actually thinking about attending Shanghai 纽约大学, which is the New York University, opened a campus in Shanghai, and I got in, and so I'm thinking about, that's one of my options for next year, and I actually think that's the option I'm leaning toward, because it seems like they have a cool focus on this whole AI concept, which I think is interesting, and so like I'm really thinking about like all of these things and how we can further global cooperation, like and sort of like that whole like I don't want like technology to be held back because we don't understand each other. And so that's really my main motivation right now, is to 更了解其他人的文化，而且就是有的能力跟他们好好的聊天或者什么的讲话。然后我觉得这个真的很重要，所以我才能去学习中文，学习华语这个语言。
Awesome. Well, I think that question and the NSLI students' response is a great note to end on. A big thank you to the NSLI students for joining us today, and a big thank you to Pewaukee High School for joining us as well and for asking such thoughtful and excellent questions. I hope this event was enjoyable. And I think the NSLI students are chatting their emails in the chat box, so if you'd like to continue the conversation or ask them any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thanks guys.
Thank you, 谢谢。
很高兴认识你们。Thanks guys.
认识你们。